All right, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video. This is for, I think it's the 4th and the 5th, the Thursday and Friday of September. The students have two tests actually coming up. One's called a function, let's see, function assessment number 1, and you also have domain and range assessment number 1. Now, a couple quick things about this. Number 1, you're going to have 2 assessments on the first or on one day. Okay, I know that sounds like a lot, but think of it this way. It's the same information that we've been going over, and we split it into 2 separate tests, so that way if you fail one of the tests, it doesn't completely destroy your grade. So like you can do well on one and not so well on the other one, and it won't really affect you. But if you don't do well on the first one and the second one, then obviously, yeah, it's going to hurt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this very, very quickly. I have a short amount of time. I want to just cover the things that are going to be on the assessment, so that way there's no excuse. And this is kind of a reward for you guys actually jumping onto YouTube and watching these videos. So I want to make sure that you guys have it. If you have questions or whatever, just go back, hit pause, rewind it, go back and watch it again, and go back and excuse me, and go back and watch it again and again and again until you have it. That's one of the perks of YouTube. So just check it out. Make sure you know what's going on. I'm going to cover both assessments. I'm literally going to walk through both tests with hopefully within the next 15 minutes or so. If you don't do well, we'll talk about that later. But please, please, please pay close attention to this. I'm going to be looking down at my notes because I want to make sure I cover everything, and we'll go from there, okay? All right, question number 1. Let's go to the first one. Let's go to the function assessment number 1, okay? I believe, well, we'll talk about it. The test, I think, is 7 questions. I'm not sure. First one, which one is not a function? So if we draw a line, okay, so like that right there. Hopefully you guys remember the vertical line test where we took a vertical line, slid it across. If it only touches one time, we're okay. I'm looking for my ruler. I don't see it anywhere. That's fine. So if I take a vertical line, we're okay. It doesn't touch anywhere more than once. But if I get something that looks like this, let's say a circle, okay, a vertical line, yeah, that's not going to work because if I draw a vertical line, it touches twice, not a function, okay? So please make sure you understand vertical line test, the vertical line test, okay? Second one's going to look like this. You're going to have something with a whole bunch of dots, okay? It's going to say something along the lines of like this, 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 and this. And it's going to be a true false. It's going to say this function is discrete and it's linear, okay? So it's got points. Is it discrete? Is it linear? Okay, so what you need to do is you need to determine, is it discrete? It might say continuous. It might say quadratic. It might say whatever, but please make sure that you know the definitions of linear, quadratic, stuff like that, okay? Discrete or continuous, okay? If it's dots, it's discrete. If it's got a line, well, close enough. That's continuous, okay? If it connects the dots, okay? That's obviously not a very good line, but you know what I mean. All right, hopefully you're good. Moving on to number 3. All right. You're going to have a graph that looks something like this. This is not exact. I promise this is not exact, okay? So let's say you have something that looks like, I don't know, like this, okay? You need to know, okay? Let me just go over all these with you. This is linear. Okay, please remember that. That's linear. If you have something that looks like this, that is quadratic. Okay, this one is exponential. Okay, and then you have a fourth one that looks like, I think it's a V. Okay, if you have the hard V, that's absolute value. Remember, it could be negative or it could be positive. Same thing with quadratic, same thing with linear. Linear is a straight line. Quadratic makes a U. Absolute value makes a V, up or down. And the exponential, it can go up or it can go down like that, okay? So they're going to ask you, what are some true and false? Like if they say this one is exponential, okay, yes. So it has a y-intercept of whatever. So just double check and make sure that you have it correct, okay? Like if it gives you this and it says it's absolute value, Clearly that one is not true, okay? So there's going to be a list of like 4 things. You want to make sure that all 4 of them are true, okay? So please just understand the 4 different types of graphs, okay? All right. Same thing on number 4. They're going to give you a line. It's going to be one of these 4, and it's going to say which one of these 4 things best describes the line, okay? Is it linear? Is it quadratic? Is it absolute value? Is it continuous? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Is it discrete? Is the y-intercept 2 or whatever? So just pay attention to the graph, okay? I'm going through, like I said, I'm going kind of quick. I want to make sure that I cover everything. So you can go back and watch it again if you need to, okay? This one, well, I already went through it. Okay. Which one is linear? You need to know the equation, okay? So linear is going to be y equals, what is it? Y equals mx plus b, okay? If the x is simple, okay, in other words, there's nothing fancy on it. If the x is simple, that means your line is also going to be simple, okay? Quadratic, y equals, if you see x squared is quadratic. X squared is quadratic, okay? Absolute value is going to be y equals absolute value. Those are the 2 bars, okay? Absolute value, okay? And the last one, exponential, y equals b to the x. Now the exponent is the actual x. If the exponent is the x, that means it's exponential, okay? I hope you understand that one. Just know the difference. It's going to ask you which one is quadratic, which one is absolute value, which one, you just need to know which one it is. So if it asks you which one is linear, you're going to know which one it is, okay? So just know the differences in the equations, okay? All right, what are we on? Number 6. This one is actually going to say, pick a graph that you feel it's either, I don't know, increasing or decreasing. It's going to give you a couple of things. It's going to say which one best describes the graph that we're explaining. So if it says, pick the one that's quadratic, you're going to pick the one that looks like a U, okay? It's just knowing the different graphs again, okay? All right, that might be it. Once again, just knowing that x squared, absolute value, obviously that is a very, very big part of this, okay? Just know the different types of equation. Exponential, linear, absolute value, quadratic. Please, please, please study the different equations, okay? Because those should be gimmies, okay? That's actually the first test. Literally, that's it. If you can understand the different types of graphs and the different types of equations, you should be good, okay? So let me write down a few things that you might want to study. Okay, maybe you can go into Blukit and you can actually find your own activities. Okay, let's go to, we've already talked about linear, quadratic, exponential, absolute value, stuff like that. Also keep in mind discrete, continuous. We talked about y-intercept, exponential. That's pretty much it. Just know the differences. Okay, I mean, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Okay, all right. Hopefully you're good. Let me jump into the second test. The second one's going to be over domain and range. Okay. All right, here we go. Question number 1. They're going to give you something that looks kind of like, I don't know. Maybe it's something like this. Okay, let's just. Whoa, that is a really funky graph, but that's all right. Just work with me on this. Okay. It's going to ask you for, listen, if it's asking for domain, think about it. I've told you guys all the time that if it's domain, actually I'm going to write it up here. Domain equals X. So if they're asking you for domain, don't even choose the one with a Y, okay? Make sure you're getting the one with the right letter. Range equals Y, okay? So the domain on this one would be infinite. You guys already know how that goes, okay? Farthest left versus farthest right. The range on this one, y is less than 0, or less than or equal to 0, because it's actually touching the 0. Here's 0. Okay, on the y-axis, it's below it. Okay, remember, domain is left to right, range is bottom to top. Okay, left to right, bottom to top. Left to right, bottom to top. Okay, please remember that. Okay, please. All right, here we go. Number 2, it's going to ask for the domain. What did I say? Domain is left to right. Okay, it's going to be a couple of closed circles. I'm just going to give you that. I'll give you that part. Left to right. Okay, so please, just make sure that you understand. So I'm actually going to give you one that looks kind of like it. Okay, so it looks a little bit like this to, I don't know, that. Okay, so if it's from left to right, I go down the line. Boom. First one is right here at -3. And it's a closed circle, so I put the X, right? The line with it. And then we go all the way over to the farthest right. +1. Closed circle, okay? Remember, if you need to, put a box around everything. Make it a little bit easier. The furthest left is -3. The furthest right is +1 on the X-axis, okay? So please, remember, domain is how wide is it? Range is how tall is it, okay? Left to right and how tall, okay? Remember, if this was an open circle, this is like number 3. If it's an open circle, remember, the arrow changes. Open circle, the arrow changes. Okay? If it asks for range, obviously it doesn't really change anything. Number 4, they're going to ask for a whole bunch of different points. 3, 1, 2, -5, 6, -4. That's a weird 4. I'm just making this up, guys. If they ask you for the domain, it's just the first numbers. Okay? 2, 3, 6. Least to greatest. Easy. The range would be the y's. Okay? Number 5 is another graph. It's not a function, but you can figure it out, okay? So if I give you a, I don't know, like a box, looks like this. Okay? The domain would be from 2 to 4. Okay? How wide is it? If it asks you for the range, oh, by the way, if I did the domain, it would look like this. 2, closer X, close 4. It's between 2 and 4, right? And make sure it's X, by the way. Moving on. What is the range? Okay. I'll give you a hint. That one's going to look a little bit like this. It's going to look a little bit like that, okay? I'm not going to give you the exact numbers, but you need to know it doesn't matter what the curve is doing. The lowest point is a 3. The highest point is a 5. They're looking for the range, which is Y, and they're both open circles. Okay, how tall is it? 3 to 5. 3 up to 5. That's how tall this thing is. Moving on. Number 7, what is the range? It is kind of like we had on our quiz, guys. It's a bunch of discrete points. It's discrete. You need to know that if it's discrete, you have to list the range numbers, okay? We'll talk about that in class, okay? Or we'll talk about it before your test. I'm erasing a bunch of stuff, okay? Let's see, what else? Domain, range. Find the domain. They're going to give you a table. Make sure you know that the domain is the X, okay? Please know that. All you got to do is just list the numbers. Next one, which inequality best represents the, I'm not going to tell you if it's domain or range, but just know it's, once again, domain or range. And then it's a word problem. They give you a whole bunch of different words, but the very end of the problem says, which set best represents the, I'm not going to tell you, but domain or range, okay? Just don't get caught up in the words, okay? Just figure out what they're asking you in the problem, okay? All right, if you want to practice, please, I hope you practice a little bit, okay? But I would absolutely go into Blooket and type in domain range, okay? Please go in there and practice. We did this in class. You can go back to domain and range in Canvas. You can watch that stuff. You can rewatch the lessons. Listen, I did this for you. I 100% did this for you. I do not have to walk through the test and tell you exactly what's going to be on it, but I want you to get off to a good start. I want you to understand what's coming, okay? Please, if you were a little bit confused on something, go back and watch it again. Slow it down, hit pause, do what you need to do, and go back and watch it, okay? But don't be stressed out. Don't be stressed. If you don't score well, it's not the end of the world, okay? We're going to have another test next week that will help bump your test up, okay? So don't freak out. Not a big deal, but I want you to be very prepared. We want you to get off to a good start, okay? So watch the video as many times as possible. Click like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Okay? If you have any questions, just come see me in class. Okay, see you guys.